Hey family, welcome to the Love You More show. And do me a favor, hit that little notification bell, okay? Make sure that you click that on to make sure that you never miss an episode. And of course, make sure throughout the show you like, share, and you comment. I do hope you enjoy this show, and I'm looking forward to it. It's coming up next. Flat out.
Next on the Love You More show.
You've been married for how long now?
Next year is 40 years.
How did you choose her?
You know, I prayed as a teenager.
You was praying for a wife as a teenager?
Yes, yes.
Bishop, come on. I was praying for something else as a teenager. Never intimate with anyone?
No.
Jeez, you and Eric Thomas are amazing.
It's the best I've ever had. When you go down a wrong way, see, the Bible says that there is no peace to the wicked. So if you don't do it God's way, you'll lose your peace.
Child, I'm going to tell you what he's saying is true. God lived that peace. And I was calling everybody. Like, I think I lost it over there at Bon Taco. Y'all look over at Bon Taco, see if you got my peace. And I don't think I ever had the opportunity to ask you this, and I don't want to get emotional. It was evident that you seen something in me at the time that I didn't see in myself. What did you see in me?
Wow.
Like, what did you see?
Love you more.
Indeed. Family, it's your nephew, Willie Moore Jr., and welcome to another edition of the Love You More show. I'm so honored for the 100,000+ people have subscribed to this channel. Do me a favor, I want you to hit that little notification bell, make sure that you are informed in everything that we're doing, and make sure that you subscribe. Family, can I be honest with you? This year already has started off as one of the most phenomenal years of our time. Honestly, I don't know where you sit on what side of the spectrum, but I just want to declare that greatness is upon you, and you should be walking into your destiny this year. You know what? I believe this your year. I know we say that every single year, but I just believe this year you've learned enough, you've been through enough, people have let you down, you've overcome so much. So this year is your year, and it is our job to make sure that you love you more. All right? Family, my guest today, I'll be honest with you, I met him probably like 9 years ago. I'm just a YouTuber, Facebook, with so much more on the inside, and I'm doing these little video vlogs. Willie Moore Jr. here. Many of you all have been with me since that time, and I was on Facebook, and I encountered this pastor. It was a lot of pastors back then, and he left a message, and I was like, okay, cool. He's like, if you're ever in Atlanta, give me a shout. And I'm like, cool, whatever, that's fine. And had no idea that he was one of the most influential voices in the kingdom of God. I pull on 20, and I start seeing these billboards, and it looks like the guy that I seen on Facebook that I think I'm supposed to go meet. Then I pulled into the parking lot of his church, Word of Faith Family Cathedral, and I see these buses, and I was like, oh, that is the guy that I'm talking to on Facebook. He ended up being not only a mentor, brother, and friend. Today, I also get the esteemed privilege to call him my pastor. The one and only Bishop Dale C. Bronner is hanging out with me today. What's going on, champion? How are you?
Great to be here. Good to see you.
Listen, you looking good. I just want to put that in the atmosphere. I decided to wear my suit, so my haberdashery, come on, yes, Lord, did you hear what I said? Would match. I knew that I had to get my Encyclopedia Britannica ready and make sure that I could keep up with your vernacular, man. But I honor and appreciate you, man, more than you will ever know.
That's really what I call sartorial splendor.
See, he had it. Sartorial splendor. Yeah, so that's going to be my next week word. So I've given myself a challenge that I'm going to master a new word at least once a week. And if it falls in bi-weekly, I'm good with it, because I just see that God is expanding territory. Yes. And I want to be able to sit in rooms and not impress people, but ultimately be able to expand my vocabulary. We got places to go.
Yes.
Yeah. The Love You More show is designed for people to love themselves more. And as an icebreaker, there are a lot of different types of icebreakers, but our icebreakers is music, right? And so on this particular show, we use music on this screen to bring up new scenarios for the conversation. I want you to direct your attention to the screen. Check this out.
Wow. See, a lot of people don't understand the game, you know what I'm saying? There's no stability in this, dog. All you living off of is a dream, you know what I'm saying? If people don't buy your music, you don't eat, man. So it do get hard for you sometimes, you heard me? I'm gonna tell you though, for real. Steady striving for stardom, wanting fortune and fame. On my face, I'm smiling, in my heart is pain.
I believe we all get tested, go through hell to get
taking proper precautions. Times is getting harder. Do what we gotta do to feed our sons and daughters. You wanted a survivor, then you got your one. You just told me to claim it, and that's all I done.
Living in my city street, nobody cares for me.
Oh, oh.
Somebody pray for me, cause I got a destiny.
Oh, oh, oh.
I'm just a man with a dream, striving for the finer things.
Oh, oh.
But this is my turning point.
I'm getting everything I want.
Indeed. The name of the song is Turning Point. Bishop, with that being said, you were a young boy with a lot of wisdom, a lot of great friends. And at a very young age, your turning point came as you decided to yield your life to Jesus when most people were yielding their life to basketball, women, and drugs. Right. Tell me a little bit about that turning point for you and when it came for you when you realized that you were going to be a lot different than most teenagers.
Well, it is something that you just realize. The word crisis literally means turning point. Mm. So whenever you have a crisis in your life, it turns you in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So I was so young when I actually was arrested by a call, more so than a crisis. I guess if I didn't get a direct call, the crisis would have been my wake-up call. Yeah. So I averted quite a bit of the turmoil and the pain because I just simply yielded to the call. Yeah. And so I averted the crisis, and somehow the desires on the inside of me were compatible with my call. Mm. When I was in the house praying and studying and reading my Bibles, my brothers would be outside playing. And I played basketball, baseball, football. I mean, I grew up with 5 brothers.
Right.
And so we did sports things together. I took golf lessons, tennis lessons, swimming, judo, and karate. My dad had us really wrapped up in it, Yeah. But when I had spare time, I spent it in doing the things that I was called to do. And and I didn't feel like I was punished. It's like I had a hunger. Yeah. So when you got a hunger for something, it drives you to it instead of somebody else having to drive you to it.
Indeed. So Bishop, how old were you when you realized I'm gonna probably be doing this call versus, because I would say honestly at 12 years old, I knew I had a call, but I remember singing in the choir. Yeah. He keeps on making a way for me. Did really good during rehearsal, but the Spirit of the Lord arrested me when it was time to sing it on Sunday morning. Wow. And I could not even get it out without crying. Oh, wow. And I remember hearing the voice of the Lord and, really indicating to me that I had a call. Wow. But I decided to ignore it. Mm. And I went down another path only to come back years later with a beautiful testimony and thank God for his redemption power. Wow. How old were you and what did that call sound like for you at that age?
My experience is probably quite different than most people in terms of their call. I heard the audible voice of the Lord at 7 years old.
At seven?
Seven.
How you at 7 years old, how you knew did you ask hey God, is this you? Or was you just like?
I was somehow aware. It was in my DNA. Yeah. My great-grandfather was a minister. His daddy was a minister. His daddy was a minister. So I became like the 4th generation of preachers on my mother's side of the family. Mm. I'm a 4th generation businessman on my daddy's side of the family. Wow. So I didn't have to seek it. It was in my DNA. It was as though something was dormant in me that woke up at 7. Yeah. So when I heard the voice, I was sort of like the child Samuel. Mm-hmm. And Eli had to teach him how to hear God. Eli was old. He couldn't hear God, but he could understand God. Yeah. Samuel was young. He could hear God, but he couldn't understand him. So God brought the two together.
Indeed.
So I was able to hear and understand the call, I think because of my forefathers.
So who was your Eli? Who was the person that spoke into your life to help you understand the voice of God?
But I think because it was in my DNA, it made sense to me. Yeah. It actually made sense to me. If you come from music, for example, music is in your DNA.
Yes.
When you hear it, you respond to it. Mm-hmm. it's music is a language.
Yeah.
It is a language.
Yeah.
And a voice, the voice of God that I heard. God speaks, though, spirit to spirit.
Yeah.
So he can bypass it. And that's why he can speak in every language.
Yeah.
He can even speak like he spoke to the great fish that swallowed Jonah. He has a universal kind of thing. He can speak to a donkey and put his instructions there, and they hear him and understand him and obey him.
Right.
So he can speak to children. His way is so simple that children can understand it. So you don't need a vocabulary with grandiloquent sesquipedalia and elocution to be able to understand what God is saying.
See, that's what I was going to say. You know what I mean? And what he said is what he said. You know that? Praise the Lord. What he said is what he said. And we're going to have to put that on the screen too. So with the last words, I understand, praise God. I do have to know, because you're growing up in a household, like what I'm attempting to do is to create this beautiful backstory. Your father is a relentless businessman.
Yes.
I would probably venture to state that he spent a lot of time outside of the house.
Yes.
And mommy was probably the person who was kind of the anchor of the home with you 5 boys, right? So am I correct in that assessment?
They were both very hands-on.
Okay.
Because you have to realize that the difference there, my dad had already started his business. My daddy was nearly 50 years old when I was born.
Oh, so he was an older gentleman.
Yes.
Like me. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And he had my younger brother when he was 55. He had my baby brother when he was 60. So I grew up not merely with the wisdom of a father, but the wisdom of a grandfather. So daddy was home. Daddy spent time. I remember being in the 2nd grade in a cheesy play at my elementary school, and my gray-headed dad is sitting out in the audience. He walked out of a $1 million business deal in the middle of the day and came to his child's elementary school to see a little cheesy play. And so had he been probably in his 20s and 30s, he would have been stacking that cash.
Right. No. So he's there. So he was an older gentleman when he had the opportunity. So you got a chance to see a mother and father really grow together. Because
Mama worked in the business. Mama was his accountant. Mama's office was across the hall from Daddy's.
Jeez.
We had housekeepers and folks that lived in. Over the years, I probably 20 more, plus girls lived. They were women. We were younger, but they lived in. They did cooking and cleaning and watching out for us while they ran the business.
So he just stabbed his weaknesses. He was like, yo, let's get some good people there.
Absolutely.
And he worked by side with his wife.
Yes.
How did you use what you saw to now what you have with this amazing family that you have with your children?
You know, it really taught me the power of being able to work together. A lot of people think that, for example, marriage is about agreement. An agreement is a part of it, but what's more important in a marriage than agreement is alignment. And let me help you to understand the difference here between agreement and alignment. Agreement is saying we share the same opinion. Alignment is to say we share the same values.
Got it.
Agreement says we take the same roads. Alignment says we move in the same direction. So it's a little different. Marriages more need alignment with each other because their opinions will differ and their strategies as to how to accomplish things will differ. So they need alignment of their values. And that's what I saw beautifully modeled in my mother and father. They didn't always agree, on how things were done, but they were always in alignment with the values that it was God first, family second, business third. Those were their values.
Yes.
They had the values of working hard, being honest, and keeping good company. Those were values, and they were non-negotiables.
Yes, sir.
Now, how those values were achieved and worked out took different ways because men and women see things differently. Exactly. But they can be in alignment even when they're not in agreement.
Indeed. I love the values besides just the agreement.
Yes.
Like, I really appreciate it. And my prayer is that you guys are getting that. No childhood is perfect.
Yes.
Not at all. And I know that, me growing up adopted, never meeting any biological family members until 2020, like, I didn't really see that as a total bad thing because just like you, my dad was 50 when he adopted me.
Oh, wow.
And so while all the other parents were trying to figure it out, I had a very stable home. I've now met my biological family, and they're just like, if we would have known, we would have been there, or something like that. And I was like, no, listen here, just stay where you was at, because I was really good.
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed what I had, but of course, it did not come with just all hunky dory. Like everything was just good, although the home was extremely stable. Was there one thing in the household that you said, I don't think I'm taking that with me, not to my family?
More Love You More podcast after this.
Hey, family, listen, did you know that there's a beautiful opportunity for you to partner with us? We have a community that we call the Love You More Produce. Wait a minute. Why I sound like one of them infomercials? Huh? Okay, let's just go and keep it real. I'm doing these interviews, and I literally would love for you to be able to give questions, get your questions really answered at the time of the taping. And of course, you never know how many different insecurities I may be going through. So I share a lot in our community. It's called the Love You More community. It's actually Patreon for those of you who definitely understand. Every single month, so many partners, we get together, and I do my best to just share my vulnerabilities and get some really great ideas from you. So here's the thing. I promise to add a lot of value to you, right? Just by being in our community, I believe that every single time I come in there, I'm gonna do my best to add some value. And guess what you're gonna do? Give some opinions and add some value back, okay? So if you want to be a Love You More producer, partner with us right now. Just pause this episode, go to Love You More, go down there and just click it and become a partner. Can you do that? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Back to the Love You More show, flat out.
Love you more.
You know, my dad was my hero. He actually was my hero. I don't know. Now, our personalities are totally different. My dad was a type A, really, extrovert. I'm an introvert.
Yes.
So we're totally different. Our modus operandis are different.
Yes, sir.
How we are wired. But he was my hero. He modeled three things for me. Number one, courage.
Yes.
It's not that we don't always know the right thing to do. You need courage to do what's right. So it's knowledge is one thing, courage is another. My dad was the epitome of courage, and he was 5'8", 5'9", and his weight stayed between 128 pounds and 132 pounds.
Jeez, that's discipline.
But he was like a giant in our eyes. My dad, he had 6 sons, and all of us, I'm 6'2".
Yes.
My dad, I looked down on him physically, but I looked up to him. In terms of the mentorship of who he was. Every last one of my brothers. I watched my dad discipline my oldest brother one time. And then my second oldest brother, I saw him break a golf club over his head. After seeing that, by the time my dad disciplined my 2 oldest brothers, the remaining 4 of us were in discipline. My dad never had to put hands on me.
No, that's good. No, listen, after seeing that, I said, you know what? This little man ain't playing with nobody in here.
Yes.
What type of woman was mommy?
She was.
What type of woman is mommy?
That's right. Yeah. Mommy,
but I know she's a lot different now.
She was a tower of spiritual strength. She was the antithesis of dad, with the nurturing, the compassionate, but my mother not only fed my daddy ego food to make him think that he could conquer the world. Yeah. She also fed that to her children. So my mother was born naturally with the gift of encouragement. So that naturally flowed out of her, and it secured who I was and produced an incredibly healthy self-esteem. If a person, let me tell you this, a person's relationship in terms of who they get involved with romantically will never be any better than the healthiness of your self-esteem. If you have a sick self-esteem where there's a weakness there, it will cause you to gravitate oftentimes to a person that becomes abusive to you. So the healthiest thing that you can do ever before you even go and get a relationship is to make sure that your own self-esteem is healed. And it's a process. Pain plus reflection equals progress.
Yes, sir.
Just that. Pain plus reflection equals progress, because reflection turns experience into insight.
Yes, sir.
So the moment that I realized I've gone through a painful experience.
Yeah.
And when I reflect on this, it's like, I'm going to do better next time.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, So it models our growth for us.
Yeah. Bishop, yesterday you said that people of God, it doesn't mean that we didn't go through hell. We just decided not to just stay there.
Yes.
Was there ever a time in your career and ministry where you realized that it was pure hell? And what did you do to make sure that you didn't stay there?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Most of the time, hell is a state of mind, and it is a portal that generally comes through a person that represents demonic influence in your life. Yes, it's impossible to deal with a wide variety of people and not experience hell.
After 32 years. Because I know people can't handle some ministry for 32 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
One of the healthiest things that helped me with the hellish experiences of life and ministry was being able to compartmentalize my life. I have this uncanny ability. Like when I go on vacation, when I'm away from the office, I am not there thinking about the church, about the ministry, and about people. Yet I refuse to bring somebody who is a thorn in my side to bring them home with me and further irritate myself and lose my peace thinking about somebody who's irritated me that I saw at church, or some email message that they sent, or a comment that they put under my post. Yeah. I have this ability to allow that stuff to just flow like water off of a duck's back, because hell is an intentionality that comes from things that just don't mean us any good. Yeah. So I compartmentalize, and I'm like, God is for me. You have to always have people who remind you really of who you are when you're feeling in those low places. So when my kids were young, my children were the things that helped to decompress me. Yeah. And so sometimes it was a dog, it was a cat. Right. It's the best thing. If you don't have children, get a dog, get a cat, get a goldfish, get something. But it needs to be something. Dogs don't carry stress. Yeah. They don't carry stress. Cats don't carry stress. So when you look at them, it helps to de-stress us. And I've always kept those de-stressors around me. Yeah. One of the things that I saw from Dad dealing with business, ever so often, every few months, Dad would take a vacation. He would vacate the premises. Most people stay in it too long. So he would pull back and refresh and renew and go and see new sights. That changes your perspective. Yeah. When your perspective shifts, your feelings and emotions shift along with them. Yeah. But if you feel stuck, that's the problem with hell. Hell is being stuck. I never forget, I was in Asia many years ago, and I saw an argument going on with some people, and the person lifted up their hand, and they said these words in a language I couldn't understand, and I asked the interpreter, what are they saying? And this was the interpretation: may you remain in the place where you are. And that was a curse. And see, a vacation takes you out of the place. So you always need something that whenever something stresses you or brings hell into your life, you need something that is a way of escape that God gives us. Indeed. So I would always keep a way of escape. And whether it was a person, whether it was an animal, or whether it was a beautiful scenery looking out of the windows, it's just hard to be stressed, when you're in Dubai and looking at water surrounding the hotel.
Listen, I got this little suit we have here from Abu Dhabi. It wasn't in Dubai, but they were a little high over there. But over there in Abu Dhabi, we had a guy. Okay, we got a guy over there in Abu Dhabi. I should have bought 4 of them. They wasn't but a couple. But anyway, Bishop, I often get the opportunity to see other amazing pastors sing your praises, whether it's Bishop T.D. Jakes, whether it's Joe Osteen. He has this really funny joke that he's seen his wife is watching this familiar pastor, which is yourself. And she says, you know what? He's my favorite pastor. And Joel is like, what am I, chopped liver over here? You know what I mean? And you get all of this. Like, you get a lot of praise from people across the country, not only just for your words, but for the integrity that you walk in ministry. As we move into a new year, there are so many pastors and influencers of people who may have not always done the right thing. And because we live in such a social media age, it becomes public notice. How are you able to balance your humanity and your Christianity without losing your mind and just living with such a shielded heart? Because we all got things that we do. I mean, yours might not be what mine is, but how do you make sure that you shield yourself without letting those vulnerable moments become a public spectacle?
Yeah. That's great. It is always great to have a confidant in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there has to be a safe place, and clearly that's not social media. That is clearly not the place.
Right.
My wife is my greatest confidant. It's amazing that when people know you, they can look at you when nobody else will know what's going on. And a person who knows you, they're like, oh no, he's upset now.
Yeah.
He's really mad now. He didn't like what just happened.
Yeah.
Or if somebody is taking too long, he didn't like that. She will know. And I'm like, how do you even read such little minute nuance that might happen in a person? But they can. And to just actually talk about it. Mm-hmm. It leaves out when you actually have a discussion.
Yeah.
A conversation actually can help bring clarity about certain things. And it brings an opposing perspective. So you don't ever just want to hear the negative. You need to have somebody that reminds you of who you are, that reminds you of your destiny. You know, I constantly remind people, you are not what you have done. You are what you have overcome.
Yes, sir.
You know, and if I've overcome something in my life, which every step of the way is overcoming. That's what growth is. Mm-hmm. It is sustained change.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Sustained change. So if I just keep changing and changing, but I can't sustain it, I'm not growing.
Yeah.
But, you know, once I'm in my size now, I mean, I can't go back down to 5'7".
Yeah.
I used to be there, but I can't. Yeah. So I'm at a sustained growth. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have people around you that help to sustain that growth.
Yeah.
Always on different levels. There are people that we feed, and then there are people that we need.
Yes, sir.
And most of the time, people get off balance because they spend all of their time with people who need them and not enough time with people who feed them. That's the real key. Who feeds you?
See, that's why I be calling you, man. You be feeding me good stuff. For real. That's why I call you. Hanging out with Bishop Bronner. Bishop Bronner, when you think about the need and when you think about those people who feed you, what are some of the attributes that you have that you look for when you're looking for people who actually feed into the person that you need? Because some people may think that they're feeding you.
Yeah, right.
By just saying, man, we love you and we love you. I'm just like, that's not really what I need right now. Like, I really need you to feed me discipline.
Yeah.
You know, I often, I keep it 100 during this very unique process that I went through in the last 2 years.
Sure.
It was so crazy that I started to drink. And some of the people who were around me were like, I'm just glad you're not in the straitjacket. At least you ain't no drunk. You know what I mean? But I just knew where I was going, and I knew that could not go to the next level and where I wanted to go. And so thank God for Celebrate Recovery. God is so cool, just celebrating sobriety, don't have a taste for that crap. And I just understand that God is a healer, and he can take those different tastes out of your mouth. You don't have to deal with it.
Yes.
So what do you look for in a person that you're looking to feed you? Is it the moment that you're in? What do you look for when you're looking for someone to feed you?
I look for somebody that you can respect, somebody that I can respect. I look for somebody that you give permission to say no to you, because if there's nobody in your world who can say no to you, they have no capacity to stop you when you are headed speeding down the road of life and the bridge is out ahead. They can't stop you. You have to find out the hard way.
Yeah.
So you always need somebody who knows you and somebody who can know you. To say, you know what? The road that you're on, that thou doest is not good. I mean, Moses, he's a marvelous leader, but his father-in-law told him, listen, dude, what you're doing, you're killing yourself. You're doing too much.
Yeah.
He says, you need another leadership strategy. And he told him, get some other people, take 50 people, put some of the wisdom that you have in them, teach them and let them handle them, make them rulers of tens, of 50s, of hundreds, of thousands. And you stay up and you deal with the leadership. He gave him a whole nother leadership strategy. So you need somebody whose judgment you can respect, who has a knowledge base of being able to understand, who has that ability to be able to see these things and know these things in your life, because it keeps you on point in a marvelous, marvelous way.
That's so good. So I think about, you've been married for how long now?
Next year is 40 years.
40
Yes,
years.
yes.
How did you choose her? Or did she choose? How did it work?
You know, I prayed as a teenager.
You was praying for a wife as a teenager?
Yes, yes.
Bishop, come on. I was praying for something else as a teenager.
No. I was so shy. I told God, I said, God, you know, I'm shy and I don't want to date every Mary, Sally, and Sue.
Yeah.
And I said, you know who the person is. I was 16 years old. And I got 16? I'm 16. And I said, God, you know who she is. You know where she is. I said, show her to me. And I got in my closet and prayed for over 2 hours. It was 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 34 seconds to be exact. Because I looked at my watch and I said, I'm going to see how long it takes God to answer me. I was on my knees, literally in my closet. I was getting uncomfortable, but I was determined, God, you know, and I want to know. And he showed her to me. When I met her for the first time, we went to the same high school. I had never seen her before. When I saw her for the very first time, she tripped over her friend's feet at her locker and fell at my feet. So when I saw her for the first time, she was lying at my feet. I said, goody, a woman who knows her place. No, that is honestly where I met. That's where I saw her in the flesh for the first time.
Did you see her in the prayer closet? You didn't see her face, but you knew who she was.
Yes, right.
And so you see her there, and it's like it was confirmation.
Yes,
in your heart.
Absolutely. And so I never dated another person.
Never intimate with anyone?
No.
Jeez, you and Eric Thomas are amazing. I got another friend. He was like, I met DD and that was it.
You know, yes.
And
it's the best I've ever had.
That's real.
Yes.
And so
I don't have these comparisons that come up in my mind to say, you know, like Roxanne, she could really put it on you.
Yeah.
You know,
None of it.
I've never been with Roxanne. So I don't have those comparisons.
I'm just always intrigued when people do it God's way early.
Oh, wow.
Because it just takes away, like living on the other side of all of these different experiences. I look back and prayerfully on this camera, you can understand that there's a way that seems right to a man.
Oh, wow. Yes.
But just in the end, it just leads to death. And it doesn't mean like a physical death. It essentially means that there's some things on the inside of you that die when you give yourself to all of these different people.
That's so true. But you know, the thing, and I felt as a result of that my life was just deeply boring. Just deeply boring. I wanted a dramatic testimony of being delivered from, a $10,000 a week drug habit or, raised up off of cancer and something, I wanted something dramatic. Mm-hmm. But it took me, I said that when I was being interviewed some time ago, many years ago, and they said to me, when I said that it was boring, they said these words to me, and it clicked with me for the first time. They said, it is better to be kept from than to have to be delivered from. Because the fruit of not being with another woman brought into my life two main things, joy and peace. Those two elements, joy and peace. And so, for the peace alone, I would say it's worth it. It's worth it, because when you go down a wrong way, see, the Bible says that there is no peace to the wicked. So if you don't do it God's way, you'll lose your peace. And you don't realize how valuable peace is until you lose it.
God, I'm going to tell you what he's saying is true. God lived that peace. And I was calling everybody. Like, I think I lost it over there at Bon Taco. Y'all look over at Bon Taco and see if you got my peace. I promise you that.
Next on the Love You More Show.
How important was your father's voice in all of this?
Oh, my gosh. So important. So very important. Like, that man, like, just gave me the real. I remember we were all somewhere out of town with the kids, and we still do things together as we do now. And I was really hurt, and it was one of those nights. And he just was like, "What are you going to do? You can't make them. What are you going to do?" Like literally. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. I want it to work. Ugly cry, everything. I want it to work. I didn't do anything. He's like, okay, are you done now? Yeah. Like, okay. And still he speaks so much life into me, and he reminds me to speak life into myself.
Yeah.
And that's the game changer.
Love you more.
Bishop, You know, I gotta tell this story because I just moved to Atlanta and I met Bishop Bronner. Of course, I told y'all in the beginning on Facebook. And I'm doing real well, selling T-shirts, finally making enough money to do what we had to do. And this church in Charlotte, North Carolina, they called me and they was like, I speak there. Actually went there the first time, did comedy for the pastor's anniversary. And they was like, dude, you a preacher, because I couldn't stop. You know, we making funny, but like all my funny lands on revelation every time. So it was just like, da-da-da. And then you wrap it in a bow with Jesus. Then next joke, boom, wrap it in a bow with Jesus. By the time I got to the third joke, everybody's crying, everybody's giving their life to the Lord, and the music done tuned up. So it goes from a comedy show to this thing. And it's like, would you mind coming back talking to the youth? I talked to the youth, 20-some kids give their life to Jesus. It's really, really, really cool. They called me back. We want you to be the youth pastor. They own houses. Right next to the thing. I'm living in an apartment by Greenbrier this time.
Oh, wow.
Greenbrier, because I want to work with Tyler Perry at the time. I'm just like, I'm going to be right there. I'm just going to ride my bike to work. Just faith, you know? And these people offer me a job.
Wow.
And they got houses over there. So I'm like, I'm about to live in a house. I mean, it don't matter. So I call my guys, my brother and friend. Hey, Bishop Bronner, need to talk to you. Listen, man, they done offered me a job up here in North Carolina. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this job. I got to go. And he was like, he listens to you all the time and he just lets you get it out because he's a great listener. And then finally, in a really calm voice, he explains what Atlanta's going to be to me. He says, you're in the middle of an epicenter. This is a place where everybody's going to meet and you're right there and things are just about to happen. So here's what I want you to do. I said, what you want me to do? Wait a minute. I always do this when we're on the phone. Wait a minute. I got to go get my pen. What you want me to do? He says, I want you to dream it as big as you can dream it. And then I want you to be able to write down what you will take and what it will take for you to do this opportunity. Wow. Yeah. Don't hold back anything. Don't use the big word that I don't remember. And then I said, okay. And this took a lot of courage. And I wrote it down. I said, I can't do meetings. I can't do staff meetings. You're gonna have to fly me in. I will not drive. And then I wrote this number down of what I wanted to make every month. And that lady hit me back and said, yes. I said, to all of it? She said, yes. I said, God, dog, I should have asked for more money. I called him back. And it was a valuable lesson.
Yeah, wow.
That literally every time from this moment on, including the negotiations that I just went through some 3 days ago. Wow. I just always write down exactly what I want. Yeah. And then based upon that, I just say, okay, cool. They fulfilled this part, this part, this part. And I did not leave the place where God was about to be fruitful in my life. And I don't think I ever had the opportunity to ask you this, and I don't want to get emotional. It was evident that you seen something in me at the time that I didn't see in myself. Wow. What did you see in me and how did we get here? Wow. Like, what did you see?
Wow. You know, I saw the gold in you. I saw the gold in you. I saw destiny in your eyes. There's a glimmer and it's clear for the prophetic to be able to actually see that. I saw gifting, I saw talent, and I saw humility.
Yes, sir.
If you have talent and arrogance, you can't guide it. You can't keep it from derailing. And the confidence is something that grows, not in our ability. If your confidence is in your talent, you become arrogant. But if your confidence is in your discipline, that I pray, I work out, I do this, I do that, your confidence has to be in your discipline. It has to be in the God that we know, the one that we trust, the one that is helping us. That allows us to be confident and not arrogant. There's a really thin line between confidence and arrogance. Yes, but I saw the potential of God in your life. I saw giftedness. I saw the destiny. I saw the hunger. I saw the passion, all of these elements that actually make up greatness.
Man, I really do appreciate that because I just felt led. I was like, I got to call him. And at that time, I got a pastor and all this other stuff. Like, I got to call him. I got to figure that out and never being a bugaboo. But of course, whenever I get to these hard moments where you can go this way or this way, I just always remember like the words that you always speak to us is that pride is going to make an excuse, but humility will make this adjustment.
Yes.
And when I'm about to make a very, very tough adjustment, I'm humble enough to come back to the feet of wisdom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what do you think? This is what God is telling me. And this, because I'm often off on the timing of it all. Yeah. And I tell people publicly when I'm on these platforms, I'm like, he's the guy that scales me back. Because everybody's looking like, so what does he tell you? I'm just like, well, it's not really what he tells me. He just helps me with my timing because I could be a little militant in my approach and I'm ready to go because you have all of this drive.
Yes.
And so I literally appreciate that. I do want to ask you this because as we embark upon this year, man, relationships are in a very, very tough spot. Yes. You know, a lot of people are calling it quits who probably ain't been through some of the things that you and Dr. Nina have been through, and they're just saying, you know, goodbye. What word do you have for families in this year that they can maybe hold on to make sure that they keep this thing going? Because I don't wish divorce on my worst enemy. War costs a lot, and it doesn't just mean finances. So really. What word would you have for relationships?
Ivy Hilliard said that the power to define is the power to determine destiny. And here's how I define love. Love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. It's an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. If a person realizes that the reason that the Bible could command us to love is because love is centered in the will and not in the emotions. It's centered in the will. And so he can command us to love. He never commanded us to like. And which is a huge. He
commanded us to love.
Yes.
But he never say like.
Exactly. See, we have to love people in the world. We'll love people in the community, love people in the church, love people on the job that you may not necessarily like, but we love them. We have to love them because of the image of God that's on the inside of them, the imago Dei. That's the image of God. We love them. They're God's creation. He commanded us to love. And if it were just emotional, you can't command your emotions because I'm just like, I just don't love him. No, love is a decision, not an emotion. And if we say that we don't love them, it's because of A, B, C, D. And based on this evidence, we've made a decision not to love. So, but love, if we really understand it, is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. Then that gives us staying power to say, let's talk about this. Let's work through this. And oftentimes deal with the expectations that they had concerning it. Because people, if you're never disappointed by what you find in life, only by what you expected to find. And when people get married, they expected to find this wonderful thing. And what they expected to find the ideal. Yes. They encounter the real, and then they have an ordeal. And so they don't even realize this is not an ideal situation. This is a real situation, and you create many ordeals. So how do we transcend that? I think you have to find the common values. Unity is primarily produced by these two things, a common goal with common values or a common enemy. A common enemy to say, you know what? We're struggling. We don't want to live in poverty. We got to stack this cash. We building something, not only for us, but we're building this for our children. And we got to make this work, even though we may not like each other right now, but we got to make this work for them, you know? And so that's a common enemy that we don't want this to destroy us because we're working on something here, or a common goal to say we're building this. I love our children. You love our children. Let's work on this for their sake together. You're right. Divorce, sometimes it looks like an answer, but it's an answer that has a whole nother set of problems with it. So when it can, I say this, never cut what you have the power to untie. So if you can untie it, then that's a great opportunity to be able to do that. It's not always salvageable. I will admit that. It is not always salvageable, but it should be a last alternative. And I've had to recommend it to some people because their mental health was at stake.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it can honestly snap and break some people if they don't know how, and if they don't have a way of escape. Some people are unreasonable. Yeah. And there are a few people that I have met in this world that I would describe as incorrigible. They have no ability to be corrected.
Yeah.
At least this.
Uncorrigible. You uncorrigible. That's my word for next week. Uncorrigible.
At least it requires somebody of a different pay grade.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked to the married couples. What about singles going into this year? Like what heart posture should they have this year?
And I don't want to sound cheesy to say, just fix your eyes on the Lord. I think that they need to find their passion. Purpose is always connected to passion. I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody who has no idea of purpose. The relationship ought to be a purpose. We come together on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. If they don't, that's a convoluted, confused person, and they can't do anything but bring confusion and muddy up your water. So until you find your mate, focus in on your purpose. Yeah. You will find, I was teaching the Bible in my public high school when the guy that I later hired as my pastor of evangelism actually brought the woman that I married into the organization. I was on assignment. I was on purpose. I wasn't looking for a wife. I was on my journey of purpose of fulfilling what and who God called me to be. And God will place on your journey every person that you need. So busy yourself. Take advantage of that time. It is single people don't understand what a blessing it is not to have children at the time, distracting them, and a spouse, because you can't work ungodly hours and still expect to come home and have peace. Yeah. They're like, where you been? I mean, excuse me. They're going to remind you of that. So there are certain privileges that you get to go wholeheartedly. You can go hard as you want to go while you're young and single. Yeah. The moment that you connect your destiny with someone else, you have to be considerate of that other person now. Yeah. And it's not as easy to work out scheduling and pursuing in the amount of time that you put on something that you are deeply, deeply passionate about.
I love it. Who's Bishop Bronner when he pulls the clergy collar off?
Oh, wow. I'm G-Daddy. I am. Most people, most men particularly, they die within 5 years after they retire. And it's because their identity of what they have done is so intertwined with who they are. Mm-hmm. That is not with me. I wear ministry like a loose garment. I drop it off. I can pull this off and move and step into so many different other directions. I can't wait to step out. Yeah. And I'm in the process of stepping out now, and I've told my son, I said, he must increase as I must decrease. Right. I have nothing on the inside of me wants to stay. I will not be one of those people who has to be funeralized out of their pulpit. I will not. Yeah. Because that's not who my identity is. That's what I do. That's not who I am.
I love it. I'm
a fun, loving person. I'm a comedian. I love comedy.
Oh yeah, we have fun.
It's a stress reliever. Yeah. And so and some of my friends that are super spiritual, I have to send them stuff to bring them down to earth. Right. I send them material. Yeah. They will tell this guy here, he sends me stuff to make me laugh.
Yes, indeed. So you have your daughters are doing ministry.
Yes.
It's a family affair.
It is. It is.
Dr. Nina's worship team. Yes. The twins are doing, really taking over the youth. Now I see your son. He is there.
Yes.
Who's the heir? Do you know? Who's the person who sits on that podium? Because, the truth is there can only be one who gets an opportunity to be the heir of it all.
That's true. I'm a part of a builder kind of a generation. And my generation, we had so many elements wrapped up into the one person. Mm-hmm. I don't have that expectation of my successor. Mm-hmm. I think that what I've had now has to be diversified into team leadership. Okay. So no one person has to have it all. If you do that, you may miss out on a great person. You just need a relational person that knows how to coordinate it all. So my son will be that. He's serving as my executive pastor now.
Okay.
As soon as he got his, master's from Yale, I'm getting a return on my investment. No, really. But he's got the relational gifts that now, so he's essentially leading the staff and doing a lot of the heavy lifting already.
Yeah.
Many of the ideations, it's coming from that next generation already. So that's why I say I'll be able to step out of that like I'm pulling off a sock and a shoe. Wow. I'm telling you, and it has no indications of my losing a sense of who I am. I just step into another dimension. For anybody who's around my age, I recommend a book called Strength to Strength. Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks, because it helps people to be able to know how you leave something that you've done well for years and step into your next strength. We don't have to go from strength into weakness and decrepitness and Alzheimer's and dementia. We go from strength to strength. And the reason that most people can't leave is because they don't have anywhere to go. I got somewhere to go.
Come on, man. Listen, Bishop Bronner. Come on, y'all, make some noise for Bishop Bronner, man. Listen, I'm always amazed when I get an opportunity to hang out with you of how much wisdom you have. And I really do thank God for your friendship, brotherhood, and now leadership as my pastor.
Sure.
And I tell the cameraman, I called just last week, I was like, I really think going into this year that this audience needs to hear from you, because if you can understand leadership, you can understand a person's confidence. You can understand like what you're sitting under. I can't say it enough, just how much I really do appreciate you. And just the fourth wall that we've been able to drop as brothers and being able to just be real. Like somebody asked the other day, like, how do you feel so comfortable being real with him? I was just like, because that's the only way. That's how I came in. I didn't know nothing. Like, yeah, really. I was like, that's the dude off the Facebook on the thing. Like I just never know. And I just have all of these really unique alignments. So same thing with Apostle Freeman up in the DMV area. I just really, you know how like you just get that feeling. I'm like, man, this is my guy. And then I come to his church. I'm like, man, I didn't know you had all these campuses. That's y'all pastor. It's just amazing. And so, really, really thanking God. I put a bow on this thing, KD, if you don't mind. If I can be very, very honest with you, sometimes when you're on the road to wherever you're going in purpose, God will send you certain people to really help you along the way. Notice I didn't say help. There's some people who will help you and there will be other people who help you along the way. And I can just remember being so afraid to make a move, to bust a move, as Bishop would always tell us, to bust a move. And what I did was I came to the land that I thought God was calling me to, because I had so many different experiences that there was a lot of voices going on in his head. And sometimes it was hard to determine which one was God. But I felt like the Lord was saying, move to Atlanta. And when I made it to Atlanta, I just wanted to come here to pray. That was my pure motive. I was like, if I can just get in the land and hear what the Lord is saying in the land, it will confirm what I think I'm hearing in my head and in my heart. And I encountered someone who could give me confirmation that this would be the land that God would bless me in a major way, would bless my family, and then allow me to be a blessing to so many other people. Maybe as you sit there this year, you're thinking to yourself like, man, I think I'm good here, but I feel like God has called me somewhere else. I want to challenge you to bloom where you're planted and just go visit where you think God is calling you to and say, God, I just seen Willie's story. I just seen him with the bishop. And even though it was a joke, he was like, he was going down the highway and that's the guy on Facebook. I got the confirmation that I needed through prayer and a man that the Lord sent to me on the road to purpose and destiny. Maybe you're sitting there and saying, man, I want to do something. I want to tell you, sometimes you just got to get to the spot and watch God finish the revelation that he started in your prayer closet. While you was on the road, driving your car, having a good time, God interrupted you and showed you a great land that you could possibly be prosperous in. And here's the thing, the land is not ultimately for you, it's for the people that you're called to in the land. My prayer is that you won't just allow yourself to sit and meander in the maze of mediocrity. Here's the thing. I was talking to Bishop when I was in LA a couple of weeks ago, and I said, God, I was like, Bishop, I feel this thing that God is doing, because, I talked to him like that, man, I feel like God want me to move here and quit this and do that. And he said these words. He said, sometimes God will speak to your head. Sometimes God will speak to your heart. And other times, God will speak to your feet. I feel like you right now, God may be speaking to your feet, telling you to bust a move. And that move doesn't mean that you just have to make an abrupt movement, but you do have to get to the spot to hear from God correctly. I want to challenge you this year. It is no longer cool to sit back and relax when God has told you to make a move. If you feel the challenge in your shanana, I want you to make one step towards that destiny. And I guarantee you this, God is going to meet you there in Jesus' name. I want to encourage you to do this. Please subscribe to this channel, share this with as many people as possible, and just know that this year is going to be revved up. Right now, I've been eating vegetables and fruit. And so these little clothes is fitting better than they've ever fit in my life. Come on, vegetables. But I guarantee you, I'm going to get just a little bit bigger. Hopefully it's just in the spirit and not in stature, because we know we're not getting no taller unless a miracle happens. Unless you praying. Come on, somebody. Be praying for your nephew. Next week it's getting bigger and better. I don't know if it can get better than this, but we going to try. Flat out. Ooh, hate to stop you, change the scenery and the energy, but you ain't been obedient. You know how I know? Because you ain't subscribed. You ain't left no comment. You ain't shared this with nobody. Do it right now. Now back to the show. Now. Do it. Good. Back to the show. Flat out. And it is a wrap. Thank you for watching the Love You More show. I'm so humbled by it. Do me a favor, hit that little notification bell so you can be informed whenever we do some updates right here on this show. Hit subscribe, leave a comment. I'm going to read every single comment, good or bad, right? Because I believe a good conversation is necessary in order for us to move forward. Thank you for watching the Love You More show. Hey, Stone, come on in. Tell him thank you. Tell him thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he don't even know what he's thank you for, but thank you for watching the show. Flat out.
Love you more, love you more.